The problem was that they were at the right time, at the right place, but not with the right resources.
If you come to an MCI and you know that there is a person that you can't help him, so you are going to the other person or patient that you can help.
We always say that, God created man in its image. It didn't say God created the Jew, the Muslim. We're there to save people. Hi, I'm Dovie Maisel, Vice President of Operations for United Hatzalah, Israel's largest EMS volunteer organization.
And I'm Elad Bachar, the head of the medical division.
And welcome back to another episode of Masters of Emergency. And in this episode, we're starting a very special series of international disaster assistance missions. And when starting such a special series, exciting because there's so much to learn, I feel humbled. I don't even know the words to explain how excited I am personally when my mentor, my teacher, he doesn't like it when I say admire, but we have the very special privilege of having my teacher. Okay, teacher is good enough. Professor Kobi Peleg, and just a little bit because we can go on for hours just telling a little bit about his history, but from his history in the IDF, in the Medical Corps, colonel in the IDF, and then going internationally to become a world-renowned emergency disaster management expert on behalf of UNDAC, of the UN, and the World Health Organization, coordinating international disasters in Haiti and Nepal and many others, which we will be talking about. I'd say it sums it up to a true master of emergency, but more than that, is a true master of disaster. He actually initiated, I think, the master's program of disaster management here in Israel, which I am now in, together with Elad. So welcome, Professor, to our podcast here.
Thank you very, very much. It's my honor and my pleasure. And I think that you didn't understand me very well. I'm the disaster. My wife is the
manager.
The manager.
The master.
She's the master.
She managed me for 14 years. So she's the master in emergency and disaster management.
Yeah, well, yeah, we should all agree on that, Elad, right?
Yeah, well, definitely.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, jumping in, and in these coming episodes, we'll be talking about emergency response missions to Haiti and Nepal and Turkey and Morocco, and we'll be talking further down the road about the war on the Ukraine. And I think the opportunity that we have, Professor Peleg, Kobi, don't hit me.
Much better.
Don't hit me. With us is to bring a perspective as where we, as United Hatzalah, as an organization, some may call a guerrilla organization, may call a whatever word it is, unofficial, unrestrained to some extent, and as Eli always says, the chutzpah factor. Kobi, you bring such experience of managing these incidents on a world level, on behalf of the UN. On such large-scale incidents. I hope that our viewers and listeners will be able to benefit from this and take some real serious lessons home after these episodes. And I think we'll start off with actually the first, for me, was the first international disaster which I responded to, which was Haiti in 2010. It occurred on Tuesday, January 12th, at 4:53 p.m. And a 7 magnitude earthquake just outside of Port-au-Prince, the heart of Haiti, which is a country which is in constant turmoil and instability, killing over 250,000 people. I think Kobi, you'll be telling us so much more, but I think it's in modern history the biggest natural disaster in one place. I mean,
By the results.
By the results, yeah, of course, and over 2 million people displaced, and we'll be talking about how response to disaster like this looks like. I'll bring it from my small perspective, you from a larger. And before we dive into that, is I'll say that in this mission, you weren't on behalf of the UN, rather representing the Israeli IDF field hospital. And I think without further ado, why don't you, first of all, tell us a little bit about yourself and how this led you into these missions.
To be honest, my first mission, international mission for a disaster, it was in December 1988 to Armenia. It was a very big, very large earthquake in Armenia. Israel, the relationship with the USSR in these days was not very close. And the government decided to send a field hospital and another. We didn't went together, but at the same time, a search and rescue team from the. It wasn't the Home Front Command these days. It was the Civil Defense or something like that in Israel, and they went to Kirovakan, and we went to Kirovakan, and they went to Leninakan, and I was a young officer in the medical corps, and I served there as the deputy commander to this field hospital. It was minus 18 degrees.
Ooh. Chilly.
It was
a little bit.
But I have to say that this was my first step. And later on, I came again and again in Rwanda and Nepal and Indonesia.
And Turkey, of course, no?
No.
No?
No.
Of all places.
I wasn't in Israel at the same time.
He wasn't available.
Twice. Philippines. Never mind. End of the day, 2010 or the Haiti disaster, the Haiti earthquake did a big change in the conception of the international medical relief. We tried several times before to speak with the WHO and to tell them, look, it's worked very nice. You call yourself.
For those who don't know, the WHO is a World Health Organization of the UN.
Thank you.
Not everybody's professionals.
Yeah, you are right. You are right. And thank you very much. We came again and again, and we tried to tell them that what's happened is that every medical team that arrived in the affected area work as a standalone. Like you call it, how did you call it?
I called it a guerrilla organization.
A guerrilla. It's not a guerrilla. It's a standalone. It's not, and this was you can doing a great work, but if every medical team work standalone, it's not a system. And when you are not working as a system, you lose lives. Why?
Because you are doing the same thing a lot of times at the same scene with a lot of teams.
This is one point.
Elad, you don't see the big picture.
And the big. Look, if you are coming, you know what? I will give you a great example from Haiti. You know that when you are coming to an affected country or affected area, you have three things that make the triangle, the most important triangle. It's time, and you have to come as fast as you can, because after 3 days, as an average, people are not survived without water or liquid. After 5 days, in an average, people don't survive without food and things like that. So if you are coming after 5 or 6 days, the chance of survival is very, very low. So you have to come as fast as you can. But on the other hand, if it's in the other side of the world, like Haiti, it takes you a time that the government will make a decision that they decided to send a
field hospital.
delegation.
Yeah.
And you have to organize yourself, and you have to find the airplanes that can take you so long, etc., etc. What's happened in Haiti is that, Florida is 1.5, 2 hours from Haiti.
Flight, yeah.
And not everybody know, but most of the Israeli trauma directors trained as trauma directors in Florida. So they arrived in Haiti. They were the first emergency medical teams in Haiti, as I know. The problem was that they were at the right time, at the right place, but not with the right resources. I forgot to say the triangle, the right time, the right place, and the right resources. So they had 2 points from the tree, and when we came, and I can show you a video from the CNN that she interviewed the physicians in the Florida.
I remember that interview.
And she say, if this guy would go to the Israeli medical hospital, the Israeli field hospital, sorry, he will die.
If you don't get him to a better hospital tonight,
Right.
what's going to happen to him?
He would die.
Why? Because they had not operation room, they had not a CT scan or imaging, excuse me. They had, after 10 days, they had...
A lot from everything.
No, they had a hospital, unbelievable there.
The mercy.
But it's the time.
Right.
Israel come, as I said, from the other side of the world. We arrived after them, but we were a bit later because it took more time
So
to be there.
let's give some structure for those who don't know the story as well as we do. So this was on a Tuesday night, on a Tuesday afternoon. The ground shook. Yeah. Disaster struck. Israel starts getting organized to prepare under your leadership the field hospital mission.
No, I wasn't the leader.
I was giving you some
Professor
credit.
Christ was the leader.
Yeah, Professor Christ.
One of the commanders.
One of the commanders on the mission, preparing logistics and everything, preparing on the ground and whatnot. I remember the Israeli consul came from the Dominican Republic because there wasn't someone in Haiti itself. And I for me, just to put things into perspective, so I was in Mexico City. And we talk about, we keep talking about chutzpah and, unorganized response. And we're a team of responders in Mexico City. And we heard about the earthquake and we said, we got to get over there. How do we get over there? We're just, it's a nothing flight. It's it should be a 3-4 hour flight, no more. And we could be on the ground. And
the airport was damaged.
The airport was, part of the terminal collapsed and whatnot. But we said, we got to make it over. So what do? We go in Mexico City to the Mexican Air Force Base.
Air Force Base.
The Air Force Base. Chutzpah. We wait by the gates. We bang down the gates of the Air Force Base. We walk in like we own the place. Diplomatic, put on a whole show there. We cannot make this up. They're arguing with us. They're saying, not diplomats, get the consul on the phone. So one of the guys goes to the other side and we get him on the phone talking to him and in English and Hebrew and whatever. We get into the Air Force Base. In the meantime, the Air Force is getting they have what's called the topos, which is the equivalent of the Israeli search and rescue. They're getting organized there with one of these, like a small Hercules. It's like a Airbus, whatever it was. One of these, army planes. The back opens up and you've got the nets there with all of the equipment. We literally jumped on this plane. No passports, no nothing. We are on the back of this plane with 50 search and rescue from the topos of the Mexican civil, whatever they call themselves there.
They don't know you.
No, but we became best friends because we,
USAR.
it's all about
USAR.
Yeah,
Urban Search and
Rescue there. And it's a lot about how you behave. If you come with a lot of confidence, it's unbelievable how far that goes, because we found ourselves taking off on the back of this plane. We were 4 guys, and we get on, and we're in the air, and I'm looking at them and saying, we cannot make this stuff up. This is unbelievable. And we get over, and we start flying in circles. Within 4 hours, I think we were over Port-au-Prince, couldn't land. Ended up being diverted to Santo Domingo in the Dominican Republic. We land there. On the Toramac, we see maybe 15 planes of all the rescue units, from the Scandinavians to the Qataris. They're all there on the ground. And
they
we're
couldn't arrive in landing
in Port-au-Prince.
In Port-au-Prince.
Because what happened was the first planes that land there didn't have gas. The gas up and leave. So they were driving gas by ground from the Dominican Republic to anyway. So we're there on the ground, and we're like, we have to get there. We're not going to be last on line once they open up. There are like 15 search and rescue teams, and we land last. Those who are watching this video, I'll share we'll share some pictures in the B-roll with it. But so we walk into the airport manager's office, and we take over his office. We're hustling them. One thing led to another. We're there through the night. By dawn, we take off. We're the first plane out of there to land in Port-au-Prince. Arrive there. I think it was 5 o'clock in the morning on Friday. 5 o'clock in the morning on Friday, we were on the ground. 2.5
days after the earthquake.
Yes, and they're getting organized in the meantime in Israel, and we'll swing back to you in a second. But because it was funny when we were talking about this on the ground there, we didn't meet, but we were evidently walking by each other the whole time, and we land there, and we get set up, and we start going out, and you see how it's chaotic. There was no significant central coordination there. It was just everybody landing. The Marines created like a tower, which was
they took control
folding
of the
tables in the middle of the runways, and with an ATV, which was driving for the planes, and we're on the ground, and then you understand the magnitude. And your planes landed late. I think it was around midnight on Friday. It was like that same night when you guys landed, and you landed with the jumbo jets and the 777s with the whole cavalry of the hospital. And I think I walked into that field hospital on Saturday afternoon. But take it over from here, how does it look like when you arrive? I mean, first of all, why does Israel send a field hospital? What's their purpose? What's Israel's interest as a government to send the field hospital to a country on the other side of the world?
It's a very good question, because usually you have 2 options in a situation like that. And again, we are in a conflict of interest in situations like that. Because on one hand, you know that, as I said before, if you wouldn't arrive there very fast, the chance of survival is decrease, and then end of the day, you are not really effective. Excuse me, my English. On the other hand, you have 2 options. One option is to wait that UNDAC or somebody else will make an needs assessment, and then they will publish or will tell everybody we need field hospital level 3. In these days, we didn't have the levels. I will speak about it later. or we need only search and rescue teams, or we need only logistic, etc., etc.
How much time it takes, the UNDAC stuff?
This is great. This is the point. The problem is that if you are waiting, you are losing time because it takes time to make the assessment. On the other hand, what's happened in a situation like that, you say, okay, when we understood that it's so damaged and affected the situation in Haiti, we understood immediately that you can send search and rescue and field hospitals, and you have to send the largest field hospital that you can, and the high chance is that everybody will be needed. And this is the reason that we decided not to wait and to send it to Haiti. The big problem was that in Haiti, the strip was damaged.
The runway, yeah.
And then the big question was, okay, Herculeses or civil airplanes. Civil Herculeses take a lot of time because they need to refuel in the midway, and
they can't do it directly.
This is one point, and the second one, they are slower in several levels. End of the day, we did it with civil, and it worked very, very well.
I got to say one thing. After you guys disembarked your planes, we were on the runway. And to see this jumbo jet try to do a pushback with its engines blew all of us at the terminal away.
What I started to say before is that Haiti was a game changer in the international and WHO and UNDAC system because, as I start to say, until this situation, every medical team works standalone. And we try to work together but try to understand the situation that you are working as a clinic EMT emergency medical team at the scene, and you even don't know, and you are a small team, you don't have a operation room, and you don't have intensive care unit, and you don't have imaging, and you have a severe injury or injuries, and you don't even know that 3 kilometers from you,
you have a hospital.
You have a hospital.
So let me tell you about that. Where it connects to my story there is that you, if I'm not mistaken, had the hospital open doors Saturday afternoon, up and running. I was driving through the city. We were with one of the Jeeps there, and we met the mission director of the search and rescue unit on the way, and asked, where is the hospital? Because the coordination center at the airport didn't know. We came from the airport, which was base camp for all of the search and rescue units. They had no idea where you were located. So he tells us where it is. We find our way, and we pull in on Saturday afternoon. And obviously grabbed a bite to eat something after we haven't eaten in like 48 hours already and whatever. But we told them, listen, nobody knows where you are. It was like in a football field, a soccer field, behind walls at the end by the water ravines there, going down to nobody would ever imagine where it was there, hidden behind trees and whatnot. So it may even have been you. I don't even remember. Our mission at that point was to go back to the coordination at the airport and let them know that the Israeli hospital opened up shop and give the exact location. And that's what we did. We made our way back to the airport, which was secured by Marines. It was like a safe haven there because there were militias there. And every USAR team which was there was escorted by armed forces of the UN. If you remember, it was unbelievable. And we get back to the airport, and I go to the coordination center, and I give them the coordinates. I took the coordinates from our satellite communications that we had, took the coordinates and brought them. And then an hour or two later, that's when you started getting people. pouring into you guys over there. That's what you were talking about, the zero coordination.
Yes. Okay. UNDAC had a very, very large team in Haiti, because what's happened in Haiti, usually when UNDAC arrived, they are working with the government because the authority belonged to the government, not to anybody else. So usually UNDAC tried to be an assistant or to help or to assist the local government. The big problem in Haiti is that we didn't find, or they told me that they didn't find in the beginning anyone from the government, and they thought that maybe all or most of them were
killed.
On the other hand, in these days, UNDAC didn't really coordinate the medical teams. WHO, that it's an agency of the UN, and UNDAC is a part of OCHA that it's another agency that belongs to the UN. But they dealing more with they are dealing with everything. I mean, they're dealing with the search and rescue teams, they are dealing with logistics, they are dealing with education and food and sanitation and water. But the health was one part of all these issues. And later on, when we understood, after Haiti, everybody understood that we are in a problem. We don't really have a health system. We have a lot of emergency medical teams. In these days, it's called, I think, in another, not EMT, they have another, I don't remember, but maybe foreigners, FMT, foreigners medical teams. But this is another problem because you are not dealing only with the foreigners. The idea is to work together. I mean, the local and the international teams, and to work as one
unit.
One unit, one system that help each other. And that, after Haiti was January 2010, in December 2010, the PAHO, the Pan American Health Organization, that it's a part of WHO. And the WHO brought several experts together to Cuba. And then we sit together several days, and we decided to build the WHO EMT system that it's almost a copy, or it's lay on the search and rescue teams on INSARAG. INSARAG is the International Search and Rescue Advisory Group that they built before.
That, by the way, the INSARAG Coordination Center was the one on the ground in the airport, because all of the USAR teams coming in were getting designated missions of what disaster sites to go to.
So they were clever before. They established the system in before Haiti, but what we did later on, the WHO, we took the system, we built it, of course, a bit different, but on the same principles. And then in 2013, in the Philippines, in the
Haiyan hurricane.
Wow, you have a great memory.
Master of emergency, come on.
Yeah, in Haiyan, that it was a super typhoon. They were there as a real. It was the first time that the WHO EMT, it was Ian Norton, was the head, and they started to work as a WHO EMT CC. It means to coordinate the medical teams. later on in Nepal, that we will come to that a bit later.
In that episode, yeah.
It was the first time that it really worked as an EMTCC, and this was in another. I will tell you.
We'll talk about this. Wait a second, Elad. I'll just add in one thing: is that I know that it worked because in the episode of Nepal, when we talk about this, we'll talk about how I know it worked is because they stopped us at the airport when we showed up as gangs at the airport, and their desks at the airport stopped us, and I was like, "Whoa, this is a first." We'll talk about that in that episode. Anyway, yeah. Sorry, Elad. Go ahead.
How many teams were at Haiti, as you know, because there was a lot of teams from a lot of countries and a lot of, guerrilla teams from, not from countries, but
from all
I don't know,
over.
it was tens of teams.
Yeah, it was, you literally, I mean, you go around, it was a lot of search and rescue. How many actual medical teams were there besides, you were with the Israeli, the IDF Field Hospital, and there was the UN facility, which was next to the airport. There was like hangars there that they turned into the field hospitals. They had nothing there, zero capabilities, but they put like stretchers there or something, I remember. And how many actual medical teams were there except for you guys before the Mercy showed up and sent everybody home?
And how many field hospitals, if there was?
First of all, I want to say that I think that it's a mistake that you call it Falangot or
Guerrilla
any other
teams.
It's wrong. It's wrong because you are working as a standalone medical team. I think that a lot of them making a great job. There are informal medical team in the whole system, but I can tell you, and before I will answer you, I can tell you that in Ukraine, when I arrived there, and there I was I leading the WHO EMTCC. I had to coordinate all the medical teams there. One of the big questions was, okay, I have several formal EMTs that are certified or on the process of certified, and we had some others. And what is the right thing to do? I even don't say the clever thing to do. What is the right acting to do? Are you interested to have all of them, even if they are not certified, to be a part of the mechanism, and then you can really coordinate it with the Ministry of Health, the local Ministry of Health of Ukraine, and to work together effective? Or you say, no, they are not a part of the system, so they wouldn't be a part of the mechanism. And then maybe you are right because they are not a part of the mechanism, but you are losing a lot of medical teams.
And they will go and treat in other places at Ukraine.
Sure, no doubt about it. You have to remember that the authority belongs to the government. The government deciding who will be the...
We're guests.
Yeah, they will decide who will be there and who is not. Not the WHO and not UNDAC and not OCHA and not the UN, only the local government. The difference in Haiti was that in Haiti, we didn't find the local government in the beginning. So anyway, what I try to say is that why you are in a conflict of an interest in a situation like that, because people can come and say, and this was discussed between me and the WHO, they can say, okay, if you take them anyway into the mechanism, so why I have to put so much money
and do the training and the certification,
and I have to stay by the standard, and I have to have a verification and certification and things like that. Anyway, I will arrive there, they will take me. It's a question. It's an ethical question, but if end of the day you are trying to think what is the most effective, take them in.
Use them.
The problem, you don't know the quality and
the expertise of the
I
people.
think it also is a factor of what the magnitude of the damage on the ground is, and what is it better? Even are you willing to sacrifice some of the quality just because of the magnitude of the disaster and the amount of victims? And you understand that something is better than nothing.
But
Maybe it's an ethical question.
But people are coming, and if you can't hug them and take them under your authority, they will go to the other side of the road
Exactly.
and take care of people there.
So
Of course, it was very nice. I will speak later about what's happened in Nepal in this situation. But what I can tell you, and it will be a bit cynic, but remember again, in Haiti, the healthcare system was less organized for disasters. In Nepal, that we had something like a bit less than 9,000 people that died, compared to 220 or something like that, 1,000 that were died in Haiti. In Nepal, you had many more medical teams and search and rescue teams than in Haiti.
yeah, because I guess it's also, the will of people to want to come and help in certain countries and others not, which is unfortunate. But going back to Haiti, we talk about dozens of groups, search and rescue teams coming to rescue. And you obviously spoke about this in your lectures, but this is like, I don't know how many people actually know this. You can have dozens of rescue teams with hundreds of rescue workers, 250,000 people killed, hundreds of thousands injured. How many actually are rescued
Alive. In Haiti, 134. 134, and we had, if I remember well, 69 search and rescue teams, 2,098 international rescuers. And if you try to look at that by cost effective, it's a bit problematic because it's something like half promille, not 0.5%, half promille.
Yeah, but we don't evaluate life like that.
By
that's
death,
life.
of course.
We always say that, God created man in its image. It didn't say God created the Jew, the Muslim. We're there to save people. And I think that's the mission. So
let me say one sentence more.
Sure.
It was more problematic theoretically by numbers in Nepal, because in Nepal we had 2,482 international rescuers, more than in Haiti, and only 16 people were rescued alive.
Ratios.
But the lessons learned was very, very important. The lessons learned say that, first of all, you need them. You cannot say, I don't try. You have to have them. They have to try, etc., etc. But we come again to the time that the international search and rescue will arrive. It will take time. And as the time is running, the chance of surviving is decreased. So the most important point, or the most important lessons learned, I came back to Israel. I went to meet the chief of the Home Front Command. I told him, look, this is the numbers. I don't try to tell you decrease the number of search and rescue teams in Israel, vice versa. But we have researches that show black on white that most of the rescuers in earthquakes are rescued by family, by neighbors, by volunteers, until the professional search and rescue teams are arrived there. And that means that we have to take the 16 years old students, or 15 or 17, it doesn't matter, and to give them very light and basic search and rescue
skills,
tools, and knowledge. It's very, very easy, and you will rescue many, many, many more survivors. And I can tell you that they did it in Israel, but they stopped it in the last years. But in Israel today, you have more than 300,000 students that did it.
And they know that a car jack for a flat tire can rescue someone under a concrete
No doubt.
plate.
Of course.
So so you have part in something very significant. And by the way, we see also on the municipality level here, as a result of that, they train regular civilians for a very basic course as well. Going back to Haiti, before we wrap up this episode of Haiti, is talk about the hospital itself. Being able to get there fast, which was relatively very fast, faster than anyone else in the world, for sure, and opening up the gates that Saturday afternoon. First of all, how long did you end up being on the ground? What were the capabilities of this hospital? And how many people in total were treated? And I will add that we will put in the video, the CNN, the CNN clip talking about the impact of this Israeli hospital.
They're desperately looking for a place to get this young man to have surgery because he needs much more than what they can do here. So we lent Dr. Poust our satellite phone so that he could try to call some people. He's calling anyone he can think of to get to a more sophisticated hospital. If you don't get him to a better hospital tonight, what's going to happen to him?
He would die.
Families are obviously going to be upset. They've been sitting here with their loved ones who they were so excited to see alive, only now to watch them die a slow, painful death from their rotting flesh because the infections are out of control and they need surgery. I've been here since Thursday. No one except the Israeli hospital has taken any of our patients.
I'm just amazed. I'm just amazed at what's here. This is like another world compared to the other hospital. Imaging department. I mean, imaging. My God, they have machines here. They have actual operating rooms, and it's just amazing. What's the machine?
It's a respiratory machine.
It's a ventilator?
Ventilator and monitor. Ventilator, monitor, suction, and oxygen.
I mean, they don't have this at the little hospital that I came from. So the Israelis have set up a field hospital. Has the American government set up a field hospital?
Currently, not yet.
The Israelis came from the other side of the world.
Mm-hmm. It's a frustrating thing that I really can't explain.
Yeah, I said it's something that can make you almost embarrassed to be an American.
The situation is beyond desperate at this point. The disaster was the quake, but this is the disaster that's following in its wake. And these patients were so thankful to have lived through the quake, and now they're slowly dying in these hospitals. We're desperate.
Today, the WHO dividing 4 levels of medical teams, emergency medical teams. Level 1 is level of basically clinics. It could be mobile and it could be fixed. They are going from place to place. They give first aid and normal or daily healthcare to the population. The second level is a field hospital. It's a small field hospital that have one operation theater and 2 beds of
ICU
rehabilitation after the operation, but no intensive care.
No intensive care.
Of course, you can use the rehabilitation as an intensive care approximately. They can see, if I remember well, 100 patients per day, but they have to hospitalize at least 20 patients per time, each time, at least. It could be more, but not less. And they have a huge list of standards and the third one, that it's the biggest one or the largest one, is level 3. Level 3 is the largest hospital. It has to have at least 2 operation rooms, beds, 4 intensive care units, rehabilitation, etc., etc. At least 40 people have to be hospitalized there every. Only 2 certified field hospital are in level 3 these days. It's the Israeli military hospital and the Chinese
China. Yeah.
military hospital. And this is the only 2-3 level 3 field hospital.
You know why the Americans don't need it, because they have the Mercy, which is like 500 beds or something. I don't know, 1,000 beds.
If I remember well,
2,000 beds. I don't know.
If I remember well, the Comfort ship hospital that arrived
Comfort,
in the,
yeah, it's like the Mercy.
It was Comfort. I hope that I'm not wrong. 200 intensive care.
Unbelievable.
Beds.
So how many patients did and actually the IDF hospital, which you were there, was there until the Comfort showed up, and then there was no point in staying. But I think it was almost 2 weeks. It was almost 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And how many?
Usually, most of the times the Israeli field hospitals coming for 2 weeks. In Rwanda, we stay 1.5 months, but every 2 weeks we change the personnel there. And I think that one other place we were a bit more. Usually we are coming for 2 weeks.
So in these 2 weeks, how many patients? Thousands. Unbelievable. And I can attest as someone who was there. I mean, just to come in it's coming in from the gates of hell. And you see a city that is demolished, a city that is, you just see people in despair, thousands of piles of bodies everywhere in the streets. And when you walk into the gates of this hospital, which was like in a soccer field, you're suddenly walking out of hell and into sort of heaven, to a certain extent. And you see the people. I can just see, you're looking as an outsider. I was not part of the system. But to see the impact that it made there on people it was like the superheroes of Port-au-Prince.
Yeah, one of the biggest problem in situations like that, and it happened to us in Haiti, and it happened to us in Kirovakan, and in the Philippines, is that people hear about the field hospital that are coming from Israel, from the West, and you have lines of people that are waiting to come in, and sometimes you have to make a triage and to decide that people are not coming in. So if it's not urgent or not emergency, it's an not easy but easier decision. But what are you doing when you have someone that is totally urgent, but you know that his chance is
survival
is very, very low, and you know that if you bring them in, you have to take someone else out of the. This is the
complicated.
But we talked about it when we talked about the MCIs.
Right.
It's the same. You're coming to an MCI. You see the people. You see the persons that is.
Yeah, except in an MCI, you're out within an hour or two. There you're stuck.
Yeah, but if you come to an MCI and you know that there is a person that you can't help him, so you are going to the other person or patient that you can help. I know it's a tough decision.
It is. It's an impossible decision.
And I cannot, we cannot finish the session about Haiti without, you spoke about the situation that the Israeli hospital was in a soccer field with walls and things like that. You know, a lot of times when we are arriving in places like that, you try to be in a situation that
safety.
Yeah, security. You have to think about security too. And what's happened in Haiti, it was a Jewish.
It was owned by a Jew, a French Jew.
Very, very.
The soccer field?
Yeah, the compound. It was like a school.
It was
like an academy, metal factory,
industry of metal factory, and in the factory they had the soccer field and they have tennis and things like that, and it gave us a great security because they have a wall all over, And then you can have control about who is coming in, who is coming out, and things like that. And they were very, very large and very, very nice people to us. They let us use a lot of the facilities that they had there.
Unbelievable.
And
Unbelievable. I mean, you can't even imagine the security issues there. I was staying in a base camp there at the airport, which was secured by the Marines. But going out into the city, no operations on the sites almost after nightfall, no electricity throughout the city. People, just making little fires. But we could really go on for hours. And I think we'll loop back to this in our next episodes when we talk about Nepal and others, and we'll keep bouncing back and forth. But I think, Kobi, before we wrap up, one major takeaway that you would tell to anyone who's listening to this, and in going out to a world-class disaster of this scale, if he's a responder, if he's a search and rescue, what would be that tip you give him?
So
her?
I will give two.
Okay.
First of all, every person in the world has to make a light search and rescue and first aid courses. It's fast, it's easy, but when you know it, it's saving lives. And if a lot of people will know it, a lot of people will survive in situations like that. And the second one, I know that it's cost money and time. And if you are running with emergency medical team or search and rescue team or any other, or communication or logistic, try to be a part of the system, formal, informal, but know the standards, try to follow the standards. It will help you to increase your quality. And of course, it will bring you to be much more effective in a situation that the system is working. Sometimes the system is not working because the government decided they are not interested. This is another situation. Then you can work like in Morocco as a
There you have it. You have the two major takeaways that each and every one of you out there can think about. One is for everyone. For everyone. You don't need to be a professional. Go out and learn the most basic course of search and rescue, home edition. That this way everybody can save lives. Kobi said it. The vast majority of people who are rescued in an earthquake are rescued by their neighbors, by their family, and by their community. And that, I think, is the most significant takeaway. Thank you, Kobi.
It's a pleasure.
Professor.
Thank you.
Kobi Peleg for joining us on this episode. And I invite you to join us for the next episode as well, which we'll be talking with Kobi about Nepal and in future episodes of Nepal and Turkey and Morocco. And I hope you enjoyed this episode. Once again, thank you very much. Thank you for everything you did. Thank you for being a pioneer in the field of disaster management. No, you can. I'll ask him to edit out your face as it's being done. But you are a pioneer, and you've taught generations now of disaster managers, which are going around the world on international programs, and it's a true honor that you're on our podcast here.
My honor is that I have people like you that continue and make it much better than me.
Thank you, Kobi.
Thanks.
And if you guys enjoyed this, subscribe, share with your friends, with your family, and join us on the next episode. Thank you very much for being with us on this episode of Masters of Emergency.